Welcome to Mind Your Business with Cyrus Webb
and Earl Hall.
There are things every business owner talks about.
These two business owners and friends
talk about those things and so much more.
Get ready to laugh and learn.
Mind Your Business starts now.
Hey everybody, welcome into Mind Your Business. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm going to be here with my co-host, Cyrus Webb, and we're going to be talking about how does money motivate your business decisions. That is one of those things where we all have to consider what it is that we're doing, why it is that we're doing what we're doing. Getting Cyrus Webb in here now. Me. Hey, what's up, Judy? What's up, Melissa Banks? So glad to have you in here. Definitely a pleasure. Blake here. Hey, what's up, Cyrus?
Hello, Earl TV. I'm doing amazing. What about yourself?
I am doing utterly awesome right now. Feeling so good. Excited about being here with you, being with our guests that are on this. This is going to be good. We're going to be talking about how money motivates your business decisions. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I do want to make a reminder to everyone that this is National Book Month. So we're going to be talking about that towards the end of the show as well. So all of you that have books, you want to make sure that you're promoting that. Cyrus and I will be talking about that later. But Cyrus, I do have a bone to pick with you. You know that I will pick a bone. Cyrus did an amazing Amazon Live earlier today, Family and Friends Day. And,
thank you.
Yeah, it was awesome. You were having a lot of fun doing that, which you always do. You are in your element with that. And I made a simple little post, and I got threatened by Cyrus to get blocked. Just because, he had all these kids' toys in the back and trampolines. And I'm like, jump on the trampoline so I see how it works. So then I was threatened with blockage.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you bring this up, Earl, because I want our audience to know I may threaten, but Earl does it. So I'm so glad he brings this up.
Man,
I may threaten, but I have never blocked anybody. Earl will delete and block.
Man, you say or do the wrong thing. If I get my feelings hurt, I don't need to continue to get my feelings hurt. Delete comment, block person, so they can never bother me again.
Right.
But Cyrus, today, we're going to be talking about this whole money thing and how it influences your business decisions because, I've had, hey, what's up, Troy? Welcome in. Thanks for being here. I have, over the years that we've known each other, which is, over a decade at this point, both of us have achieved a certain level of success with what it is that we do. And we think differently along a lot of lines. I've been, and I've admitted, I am someone that is money motivated. You are someone that is more motivated by the experience that people have, by, things like that. And when I've made decisions based on money, and I'm slowly moving away from that, I'll say that. Slowly moving away, because I even tell people from time to time, look, if you're chasing money, your path will not always be clear because you're following where the money is. It's like, okay, I want to sell cars. Okay, you do that and you're selling cars, you're making money, and then you see someone else over here that's selling jewelry. Oh, I want to go sell jewelry because that's where the money is. And you go all over the place. People know, I can admit it, at times in my career, I've been all over the place. And I can tell people it's not a good feeling when you start looking back over time. There are things that I've done consistently, but there are also things that I have that has drawn my attention away from, I'll just say, my true calling, if I put it in that way.
Right.
And now as I see and get more inspired, and I can say this, I get more inspired by seeing other people's success because of what it is that I'm doing now, right? I saw, it was a reel on Facebook by a guy named Alex Hormozy. Some of you may know who he is, some of you may not. and he was talking about mentors. And he was, talking about Warren Buffett and Warren Buffett's mentor. I can't remember what his name was, but he shared that example of Warren Buffett learned from a mentor and then took what he learned to a whole other level, right? And he didn't sway from that. And the point of this was to not look back on mentors that you've passed, like whether it's in money, whatever it is, because they got you your start. And we all talk about wanting to make, do things to make a better world, right? We want to have an impact on the world. And when you learned in school, the first thing we learned, like in math, was addition and subtraction. And then we learned how to multiply and divide. Then we learned, algebra. We don't look back on the mentor that taught us how to add and subtract. We don't look back on them and look down on them and say, well, I'm way better than they are. You started on a certain path and they got you to a certain level and you took it to another level. And when you do that consistently, which Cyrus and I talk about my inconsistency with things. And that's been because of money, like following the money. I want to do this, I want to do this, and make more and more money. That is not the most comfortable place to be in. And I'm interested, for the folks that are watching, I'm interested in what they have to say about the whole thing about chasing the money as opposed to chasing and going after your passion. Because Cyrus, that is exactly what you do.
Well, thank you. It is definitely something I do without really even thinking about it. But I shared before, though, I think the reason being, Earl, I'm in a different situation than you are. I'm a single guy with very little obligations. I'll put it that way. My obligations are a lot less than yours because you're a family man. There's a lot that comes with that.
Yeah.
But even before that, I've talked about before that I think part of my idea why I think about money the way I do is because of the way I was raised. Not growing up with, a lot of extra income. I learned to be able to do what you could with what you have.
Yeah.
And not to think about what you don't have or what someone, and I think that's why I've never been jealous of people, because growing up, my grandmother never said someone was better than us because they lived in a bigger house or because they drove a certain car. She put a lot on character. That was big for my grandmother.
Yes.
So I grew up with that mindset of that's where someone's wealth is. It's how they treat people, it's not about the bank account. Because honestly, Earl, and I think our audience would agree with this, I know you would, you talk about Warren Buffett, you talk about Steve Jobs, you talk about Mark Zuckerberg. You cannot look at these people and tell they're billionaires.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's like there are a lot of people living above their means anyway, so you really can't look at them and say, I want to be them, because you may not even understand the stresses they're under to have that facade that they have. So for me, now, Earl, it's interesting. I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I do everything with the end in mind. I thought about, what, Cyrus, and I said to you today, I'm not saying my way is right. I'm not saying it's right not to think about money. As an entrepreneur, and this show is Mind Your Business, you should think about having working capital. You should think about, being able to buy things to invest in your business and all of that. I think that's something I'm working on, because money is the last thing I think about when it comes to my business. I don't think about the money part.
You don't.
Not because I have a lot of it, but because of the fact that I understand the talent, the passion has always been my biggest currency. So that's what I double down on more so than the dollars. So I think, as we've talked about success being personal, I think a lot of it has to do with why, I don't begrudge anyone who wants to be a millionaire or a billionaire. That's not my aspiration personally. That's not what I want for myself. But if that's what you want and you feel like that's part of your happiness, your joy of being able to have this money, whatever, that's great. But I love what you said. If you're chasing it just to be having it, I think that does cause a problem.
It does. And I mean, when you look at, if you do have someone that's chasing the money, like I gave the example of a car selling cars and then, they're doing that. I think sometimes people chase the money because they see other people doing things and they want to have those things, whether it's a number of followers, that they can show that they have, an audience that they can show that they have. And they try and mimic other people trying to achieve that same level. But in doing that, they've left the core of who it is that they actually are. And they've left the happiness along with it. And I can testify to that. Melissa's saying, if you're only motivated by money, it will not sustain you during the difficult times. I have said this to Cyrus before. I've been without money. I've been without money before. Now I actually have money. Money does not solve problems emotionally, in relationships, people. I mean, millionaires, billionaires, they commit suicide.
Yeah.
So the money is never the thing. Now, I'd rather have the money than not. I'll say that. But if you're looking at money to make you happy, that is never the thing that will. Hey, Shalini, I'm glad to have you in. Thanks for joining us.
Earl, I think there's something else we need to say too, because this is something I want people to know, again, using myself as an example, as someone, a country boy from Mississippi who, again, was not born with a bank account. Growing up, my family didn't even have, my grandmother had a savings account, but my mother didn't even have a savings account when I was growing up. So I can speak to the fact that one thing I do know, if you think money is going to make you happy, that is a deceit I think the world has kind of given us, that you'll be happier driving this or living here or having, this guy, this girl. I mean, I think, that's part of the way that they trap you into.
The things trap.
The
things trap you because now those things own you.
Yeah.
You don't own those things.
Yeah.
Though you're working and you're struggling, you're trying to pay the bills. I mean, you were happy in a 2,000 square foot home. You could afford that. Now you're making more money. Now you have a 5,000 square foot home. Now you have to sustain that. And those things start owning you because you now have to maintain and work to maintain those things. Now, there's nothing wrong if that's what it is that you want to do.
Right.
But understand, it kind of like Biggie Small says, more money, more problems, depending on how you're using it. And competition comes into that as well. We've talked about competition before. You see, the grass is greener on the other side. You see your neighbor, they just got a brand new car. They put an addition on their house. You see all of these things, but you really don't know the struggle that they're going through. And if you feel less than someone else, that's the issue. If you feel less than someone because of the things that you have or the clothes that you wear or the shoes that you wear, I'm an Adidas Nike person, not because I so much like Adidas Nike. I don't buy my own clothes. My wife buys my clothes, full disclosure, except for my regular, I buy this stuff. But the pants I have on some Crocs, but when things own you, because if you don't have those things and you don't feel like you're good enough, that's an issue.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you said that last part, Earl, because I was going to definitely add, if you think you're not worthy because you don't have those things, too, that's a problem. Because, I have, even growing up without money, I remember in school being on free and reduced lunch. I remember that I never felt less than the other kids, because I knew my parents worked. They didn't make what a lot of other people made, but they were working. They were, they had jobs. And I watched that and I knew, what, that to me is what's more important. I never felt embarrassed that I got a reduced lunch, especially today being 47. Hey, give me a reduced anything. I'll take it. You want to give me a free reduced lunch?
Discount.
Hey, I will take it. But it is funny how people how their mentality is, right? Yeah. As a child, you look down on people who don't have this and that. Now we want people to give us, right? That's the world we live in as adults. So I think this money conversation has to be something people really think about, because I think, especially as we're talking about business, Earl, I think, I have been able to build a lot with a little. Even when I had a few extra dollars in the bank, I still built a lot with little.
Yeah.
Because I understand the important currency I bring is my passion, my determination, and me. You know, that is my biggest asset that I bring. It's not how much money I have in the bank.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, for business owners out there in particular, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs like myself, you know, I think, you know, we have to remember that don't feel like because you don't have a certain amount that makes you any less than anyone else, because it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. And as a business owner and the entrepreneurs that are watching this show right now, we have a tendency a lot of times to look at other entrepreneurs and covet. I'll use that word. Covet what it is that they have and not be satisfied where they are, right?
Yeah.
There are people that we know, they have jobs, but they don't want to let people know that they have jobs. They want to make people think there's something that they're not. And being online, there are a lot of personas that are out there, but you have no idea what that life is like or what that person is like when the camera goes off. Mm-hmm. Right? When that camera goes off and because the content that we create, I mean, if we're live, right? But if we create a video and, we're showing, our lifestyle and we're at some beach and, leaning on some car that may or may not be ours, trying to make people think that we're something that we're not, that says a lot about that individual and what they think about themselves, because then they care too much about what other people think about what they have. You and I have had a conversation, about me being in voiceover. And when I initially started, even up in today, like buying more and more gear, not because I needed it. I want you guys to hear me. Not because I actually needed it every time, but I did want it. I'm a gear junkie. I'll say that I'm a gear junkie. But in order so that other people could see that I was at this other level, right? It's like, it wasn't because I needed something more, but I wanted to look like something more. And the reason I'm giving everyone full disclosure on even my own life, because there's things that I've recognized in myself, being a money motivated person, that needs to change certain things. And Cyrus is right. We do have different lives. I have, a wife and 4 kids. 2 of them are grown and out. We still have 2 teenagers in the house. So I'm responsible for taking care of these people. So that's a part of that motivation. But sometimes I've gone a little bit too far with that. And I think that's important for people to really watch. Why are you going after certain things? I'm not talking about having ambition, because we all have ambition and want to do better than what it is that we're doing. But if we think less of ourselves because we're not at a certain level, that becomes a problem, because it means you're not happy where you are and you feel like you're less than. And I can tell you, you're not. And comparing ourselves to other people is the worst thing that can happen. Yeah. You are literally just in competition with yourself. No one is you. And I think we've talked about that before on the show. Mm-hmm. But chasing that money instead of really honing in on who it is that you are and what your purpose actually is can be a danger. Because I know I have a certain level of expertise, like Cyrus has a certain level of expertise in what it is that he does. And when you have a spirit of giving, because you want to see people do better, you want to see people grow, you want to see people shine, that is where, my personal opinion, that is where your riches come from, is from your giving. Like when I watched Cyrus do his live a couple of hours ago. If you ever watch Cyrus live, that is actually Cyrus. He's actually happy and excited. Every single day I talk to Cyrus, he gets excited about the most mundane things. And we'll get, oh yeah, and it does this. I mean, this is my selfie stick, right? Oh man, I can put it on the ground. I've got the holder here, and it's only $29, Earl. And you can put it down and you can now it's a selfie stick and I can hold it. It's not, and you can move the head. I mean, he gets literally excited about doing things like that. And I mess with him every day, but that is his actual gift. And he doesn't think about the money. He thinks about the end result for the people that are watching what it is that he does. And that's magic.
Yeah. I think that is the thing. Melissa says she's screaming, "Hey, Herschel, good to be able to see you." But there is. I want to say a couple of things about this topic, Earl. Because I do self evaluations every day.
Yeah.
And I haven't shared with this audience, but I've talked to you about it, and I know Melissa and Herschel about this too, about the conversation I had with the Steve Harvey producer years ago, who really, even though people have told me before, you have $1 million business, you have $1 million business, I never paid attention to that because for myself, for one, I was never trying to build $1 million business. That's the first thing. And then two, sometimes your friends, you think, oh, they're just saying something, you know what I'm saying? Whatever.
Yeah.
But when that Steve Harvey producer, and I'll abbreviate the story, was talking to me and saying, you know what, we'd like to work with you, but we don't think you have enough ego. We don't think you realize what you have. And you're running $1 million business like a mom and pop shop. Now, that was not a new, I've been hearing that from people before.
And that was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah, five or 6 years ago. But to have someone who, as I say all the time, has no dog in the fight, doesn't care if they hurt my feelings or not, they have no reason to blow smoke. They were just telling you know what? We don't think you realize what you have. That I thought about that with this topic because I do think there is a danger of going the way I've gone in some ways. Because when you don't treat your business like what it is, some people don't recognize what you have. And so there is the other danger because I didn't work with them. Now, fast forward, now I am working with them this year, on the Steve Harvey board game, the Family Feud game. But my mentality has changed since then.
Yeah.
I heard what they said. I've heard what people like Earl and Melissa and Herschel and others have said. And I'm like, you know what? I do need to raise my prices. I do need to do a little differently. Not go crazy, but, from me, I've made progress. I bring that up to say you should, even though I don't believe money does not drive me, money is important for a business, and I think it's important for us to understand that. Now, Earl, I don't know if you know this. I haven't had a credit card since I was 23 years old.
Oh, wow.
I don't even have a credit card. I don't do anything on credit. So I thought about that today about this show because I know a lot of times people, a lot of times there's that whole, robbing Peter to pay Paul thing. For me, my thought was always, and it has been in my adult life, if I can't afford it, I don't get it.
Yeah.
That's just I don't believe in this, pay so much down and pay some. No, it's like, you know what? If I can't pay for it, that means I don't need it.
That's a good way to be. And then I do that sometimes.
Yeah. And so for me, my parents and I were having this because they just got new vehicles, and we were having this conversation about credit. And so I don't even know what my credit is because I probably don't have a very good credit score, which probably is surprising to say. But, I'm not a person who deals with credit. So I said that to say, in your business, yes, you have to make decisions. I've made certain decisions for myself that I want to live a very mainstream way. That's my way. And it's worked for me and my peace of mind. That may not work for everybody, but I think the point Earl is making is, you can't let the dollar amount dictate how far you think you can go and what you can do. Because as I said, I've done a whole lot. I've done a whole lot with very little. And I think the main thing, though, is what you bring to the table. And that sometimes will overcompensate for the finances.
Yeah, it definitely will. And people will recognize your gifts. They do. They will recognize your gifts. But when you're chasing money, those gifts aren't always shown appropriately because you're chasing something that you're not meant for. Yeah. You're meant for something else. And if you stuck with something, because Cyrus and I every day pretty much talk about consistency of doing things. And if you're consistent, Cyrus has his way of saying, if you build it, they will come. Right? But if you build it and then you stop showing up, well, what have you done? Because you wanted to go off and do something else. But it's one of those things where when people have an idea, like I see people like you, I see people like Melissa, that actually that have amazing talent, amazing talent. And you and I talk sometimes about, you know, well, I don't know what that person is doing. I don't know what this person is doing. They're trying something this week, and then next month they're off to something else. And it's like, what are you actually looking for? Mm-hmm. You know, what are you looking for? What is it that you actually want to accomplish? Because what you want to accomplish ultimately actually is not the money. Money will come. I just believe that. But whatever it is that you're good at and meant to do that thing until the wheels fall off. And you'll be rewarded for that. And like one of my issues, you know, years ago was I just got frustrated and bored. I was super good. Still am super good at what it is that I do, but I lost track of what it was that I was. It is so funny. I was obviously meant for, right? I was obviously meant for. And sometimes we don't look at what is right there in front of our faces that can get us to where it is that we want to be. And I think sometimes it's because lack of patience, lack of determination, lack of just follow through and execution. Because that's the thing. So many times people think because, oh, I read this book. Well, what did you execute on that book? Like your book you're always mentioning is Martha Rules, right?
Yeah.
And you constantly refer back to that book to get ideas and to get encouragement. Same book. You know, you don't have to go out and buy another course or another book. It's like, this is the thing that you're inspired to do.
Right.
Do that. Just do that thing. And don't look at the money. Look at what you're doing for the world.
Yeah. And Earl, you and I talked about recently, I think it's a great tie-in. I'm known everybody for bringing in movie and television references, so bear with me. But it's The Greatest Showman, the movie. You know, regardless of whether you think it was true, not true, the movie The Greatest Showman is a perfect example of what Earl just said. You had Barnum, who had found success in a niche with his oddities. But then he wanted to go after the snobs. He wanted to go after the people who thought they were better. And that's when he messed up. Yeah. He took his eye off the ball.
He didn't think he was good enough.
Everything.
Losing everything. Yeah, he wasn't looking at what he had right in front of him that was already successful.
Yes.
It was already successful, but he wanted the love and attention of another audience that was almost virtually impossible for him to get at that time, right? And he took his eye off the prize and even got ashamed of what he had built and the people that he surrounded himself with. They're giving him the success that he had.
Exactly.
It is so funny that we do that. I just say we as in general, that we do that. I did that. So I know and understand what that means, you know, with that, but chasing the money as opposed to knowing that you're there for a specific purpose to help certain people and do certain things is so vitally important for us to understand and know. And whatever state, like, you know, Bible reference, the Apostle Paul said, whatever state you find yourself in, therein be content. That is so hard for people to do, especially 2022.
Well, Earl, it's hard because that's not what's promoted.
No, it's not.
I mean, it's promoted that you're supposed to have more. You're supposed to have bigger. You're supposed to have the newest. That's what's promoted. And that's why I think, to go to Melissa's point, which is so powerful the more I'm thinking about it, just like with Barnum in The Greatest Showman, the money he had made could not get him out of the hole he found himself in.
Yeah.
It was the people he had turned his back on that were there for him to help him get back. And I think that is the thing. I think a lot of times, and that's why for me, I think that's why I stay so satisfied in my life, because I'm not, and I have to say something else too. Somebody that may not like this, but this has been, as we're having this conversation, I've been thinking about it. Because even in the business we're in, we can fall victim to this, Earl, and our audience can too. I saw something someone said earlier about, you mentioned me doing the Amazon Live show earlier, and somebody was commenting in a Facebook group that we're in about how can I find what gets me a higher commission. And that really bugged me. Now, it doesn't affect me at all if that's what they want to do, but they didn't say, how can I find things that I'm actually passionate about? How can I find things that I'll be excited to share? It was by the question, the very question says, I want what's going to make me the most money.
It's so funny you talk about that, Cyrus, because we've talked about that. I mean, both
Yeah.
of us are quote unquote Amazon influencers in that program. And, I've promoted things like high-end microphones, high-end stuff, audio, video equipment and stuff like that. Cyrus has this way of saying, imagine that. When, and you want to smack him, when he says it, because it's snooty. It's like, oh, imagine that.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Me snooty?
Oh my gosh. And so I was looking at we can access like what's being sold, right? And what we've sold and how much commission we make. I have all this high-end stuff and I have some low-end stuff as well. My number one seller is a $40 headset. Nothing else beats that. I mean, I do sell high-end stuff that does sell, but it's the consumable stuff, the lower end stuff that people want, like that headset. I have no idea why that headset sells as much as it does, but it blows everything away as far as the commission that I make. Some simple things. What else was there's a couple of things that are always at the top, but that one is
the grill is another one.
Say what?
The grill.
The grill. The grill. Now that wasn't a low end item, but it was affordable for someone that wanted to grill, right? But the grill sells, and the grill accessories, all the little cheap stuff, the things you flip the burgers with, and all these little things sell. And it's amazing, like what you said, when someone says, well, how can I find the items with the highest commission? It's not even what you want. It's in this particular program, what will people consume? Yeah. What will people consume? And when you start looking at certain things from that perspective, if you're an Amazon influencer and you're chasing the money, you better find those $20, $30, $40 items, because that's what people want and that's what they will buy. They'll buy the $500, $1,500 things too, but it will never match what those lower end products do for anyone that's an Amazon influencer like Cyrus and myself.
Yeah. Hello, Kimberly. Good to see you, Butterfly Thoughts. So, Earl, to that point, I would just say this. I think, and I guess the reason why comments like that get me, and again, it doesn't affect me at all. So I'm not even mad at the person for thinking that way, because evidently they're motivated by the amount of, look, I get that. And again, like I said earlier, I'm not in any way saying my way is the best way. My way works for me. Going back to what we talked about earlier, success is personal. Yeah. The way for myself. But the difference, I think, too, is we're having this conversation about money, is who are we doing this for? It goes back to that. Are we actually doing it to be of service? Or are we just trying to do it to make money? Exactly. Because if you're just doing it to make money, that is going to be an issue. Because going back to The Greatest Showman, that was his problem. He was making money. He had an audience. But he decided to try to find something else to get him more notoriety, and it blew up in his face. And I think, and you have to go back to then why you do what you do. And I think that's what has helped me in my career. I've always been consistent about what's more important to me is the people I serve. Yes. That's always been the important thing for me.
And that's obvious.
It's not about what's going to make me the most money or all of this other stuff. The money, like you said, has come, but that has never been my motivation. Because when people ask me all the time, was this the goal? I'm like, no, it wasn't the goal. I didn't know you could make money doing it. That was not the goal. But I've always loved the fact, like you were talking about how excited I get, the joy I'm able to bring other people by helping them with discoveries. That kind of thing. It definitely does something to me. So I think that motivation when we're talking about money is definitely important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation that we've been able to have. When I first started out, before you came on and after you came on, I mentioned that this was National Book Month. And so everyone that has a book, you need to be promoting that book. Cyrus, do you want to tell them about what you're going to be promoting this particular month for yourself?
Well, you sounded so sincere when you said that. Now, when I first brought this up, let me just say, Earl was like, "Oh, we're gonna talk about our books." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna talk about my book. It's National Book Month. That's what all authors should be doing."
hashtag National Book Month.
Yeah. So my book is called Words I Choose to Live By. I don't want to show it because the cover will be reversed. But my book, you all see it every day on this platform. I'm very proud of this book. This is the second edition. of words that you choose to live by. And it really is about every day being intentional about how you approach the day. And that's why I'm so proud of that book year round, but definitely during National Book Month, to remind people that you can't control yesterday. And believe me, I've tried to go back and to, impact what's happened already, but we can have control of today and how we choose to respond. Yes. And that's why I'm excited about that book. So I definitely invite you guys to get it. And I'd love to know your thoughts about it. Earl, what about you?
Words I choose to live by.
Yep.
The most, I think probably the most, I have 3 right now that I will be promoting. The most impactful one is this one. It's Steps to Voiceover Success. And it is reversed, you see that. But this book, Cyrus reviewed this book when I first put it out. It's been updated. He mentioned in there, there's stuff in here even for someone that is not a voiceover artist.
Yes.
And you can see his review. If you go look this book up, he's the first review for that book. And I think this is the most impactful book I've probably ever written and put the most energy into was this one. And then there's how to build a business around your voiceover skills. And there's also voiceover domination. But this particular book, Steps to Voiceover Success, I put a lot into this. And I'm very proud of this book. And I want to thank you, Cyrus. You were the first person to review it. It has sold many copies. It's in Kindle and it's in paperback. So if you're interested in that, go grab it. And it's National Book Month. If you have a book, I want to see your books on Instagram. I want to see you holding those books and promoting your book, because anything that you do, I'm just going to tell you, if you have a book around it, it gives you some sort of authority in that arena. Yeah. You're not going to get rich selling books. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're not going to get rich selling books, but this is better than a business card. Giving someone a book that actually is, you've put a lot of thought into, it's better than a business card. And if you're a person that has a business, it will get you clients. This book continues to sell and continues to get me clients and engagement. So I encourage you, I want you to post your book this week, # National Book Month, and I want you to tag me, Earl Hall Studio, and I want you to tag Cyrus Webb Reviews so that we can go and like and comment on your post for National Book Month on Instagram.
There you go. And to your point, Earl brings up a really good point. I mean, the book is definitely a great way to open the door to speaking engagements, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So it definitely does help. And I think to not promote it after you spent that time with it, you're really doing your audience a disservice. Yes, you're doing yourself a disservice because you put the work in. But if your audience doesn't know you have a book, how is it going to help them? And that's hopefully is why you wrote the book, is to be of service. So I definitely agree.
And people will consume it. And it's so easy to go on kdp.com. If you have not written a book, I'm going to tell you, put some work into it, right? 50, 100 pages, of what your expertise is, because that is important for you to get out there to show that you have that expertise and authority. That's what it will do, because people that are interested in your industry, they'll consume it. But what you need to do, like Cyrus says, if you build it, they will come. If you write it, they will read it. All right. Well, Cyrus, this has been impactful for me. I've learned a lot. I love our conversations that we have in the mornings. We mess around a lot, but this is really, how Cyrus and I talk. We'll talk about a certain topic. We'll mess with each other. I think we mess with each other more, when we're not on camera, because, I'll call Cyrus.
I would say you do, because you understand the rating of this episode. I mean, anything I have to say, I can say all the time, but Earl has to censor himself.
I do have to censor myself at times. I free talk when I'm with Cyrus. I'll tell him exactly how I feel about him. And, I think I told you the other day, I just want to kick your A. That's kind of what I want to do.
But you don't remember you saying A, though. I don't remember you saying.
Well, people know what I mean. When I say, how about kick your tail?
Okay.
But it was the A word, and it was strong.
Right.
But we laugh. We definitely laugh with each other. We love each other. We're good friends. And, it did take me a year to agree to do this show with Cyrus. He'll bring that up from time to time. So now I'm bringing it up. as well. But I'm so glad that we're doing this together, because I think the more that we do, the more we're able to impact people and actually help people. That's what we're doing in this show.
Yeah.
We don't talk a lot about strategy or what to do in business or things like that, but I think it's more centered around that mindset to make people think, what am I actually doing here and why am I doing it? And
Yeah.
Cyrus, if you've never had a consult with Cyrus, I have. I had a consult with Cyrus yesterday. He made me pay for it. And
as he should have.
As he should have, but that's a part of our friendship.
As you all heard him say, he's making a lot of money. He needs to pay.
Well, it's like that because our friendship is such that we never take advantage of our friendship.
Right.
We know business is business. When Cyrus needs something from me, hey Earl, how much is this for you to do that? And he pays. When I want something from him, business related, hey, how much is that? Okay, let me go ahead and grab that. But if you've never had a consult with Cyrus, Cyrus has a way of asking you questions that make you pause and really see something. And it's good, whether it's Cyrus or me or anyone else, people outside of what it is that you do have a different vantage point of it and can ask you questions that you never would think to ask because you're actually in that bubble.
Yeah.
And you need someone that has that 30,000 foot view to help direct. If you need help or direction, I'm telling you right now, DM Cyrus, he will talk to you. And hopefully get you straight. He doesn't have a college education. I'm gonna just say, because if you go to Cyrus's Facebook page, I remember it blew me away. It blew me away. He literally wrote in the education spot, no college education. He wrote that.
Well, I felt like you needed to fill it out. I felt like it was there, so I needed to put something.
Exactly. But that goes to show his belief in himself and what it is that he's able to do, despite not having that. And a lot of people think that if you don't have letters behind your name, you have no value or people won't listen to you. And let me just tell you, when you show your skill set, when you show who it is that you are, people know, hey, I need to work with that lady. I need to work with that man. There's something different. There's something special. So I'm telling you right now, go out there and bring the heat. You see my hat? It's #grind and don't quit. And I try and live up to that every day, with that. But Cyrus, I want to thank you once again for being here with us.
Oh, yeah, great show. Next week's topic is how to treat your business like a business. That's going to be good. I'm excited about that. Because it sounds simple, but it's not easy. So I'm looking forward to talking with that next week.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here with us. We're going to be back here. We're here every Sunday, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern for Mind Your Business with your co-host, myself, Earl Hall, and Cyrus Webb. If you're not following people that are in this show, make sure you hit their little image. Make sure that you're following everybody, and so that this is a circle. This is our help. These are the people that will be there for us, and we want to have that community and make that community so that we can literally be a help to one another. So until next week, Sunday, we'll see you guys. You have a great week.
Let's take care.
Bye now.